What's going on, people? It is Monday night. I am Dan Lewis, and this is on the Bywire. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, the like button, the follow button, all the buttons, and make sure you hit up our website, bywire.news, and become a part of independent media. Hit that donate button if you can, obviously, and take part in what is the revolution of creating media and news that you can trust. This is Bywire News' premiere show. I'm Dan Lewis, and tonight on the show we have got Klaudia Fior, who is going to be giving us a roundup of some of her top picks from today's independent media stories. But before we get into that, I'm going to just cover a couple of bits. Now, I hope you guys have had a good day. I know many of us used last night as an excuse for a cheeky Sunday night drink, and many of us were actually hoping for an England win. It was an emotional evening, with an ending that many of us feared. And that's a sad state of affairs. Not necessarily because we were too bothered about the international game, but because too many times before now, we've been the punch bag for the score after the final whistle is blown. When I say we, I do mean the non-white population and also women. There is a direct correlation between domestic abuse numbers and international football games. What a horrifying fact about our country. A beautiful game that brings people together, yet so often there is a small number of people that wish to divide. The people I want to highlight today, though, are the ones behind social media companies, because I think it's something that hasn't been spoken about enough, and they seem to be getting some praise that I think is undeserved. Straight away last night, so many people were able to post racist comments and posts across the internet without any repercussions. Now, if I was to post an image on, let's say, Instagram of a woman with just a part of one nipple on display, like I mean a smidgen of a nipple, just the tiniest little bit, man, right? The app's intelligence would identify it within minutes, let alone seconds. And the post, along with a warning on my account, the post would be removed. And I would be told that, if I repeatedly do this, my account may be removed and I shouldn't be sharing inappropriate content. Now, if I was to have my phone in a holder in the car while I'm driving and say streaming on TikTok, the app's intelligence would automatically identify this without any human involvement. And it would warn the viewers as I'm streaming of that I am doing something that may not be safe. The apps are this intelligent to be able to do this. Any post on any social media platform over the last 15 months that included any words, including or that sound like or that they're linked to the pandemic or COVID, anything similar around that subject, the app would automatically add an information message linking to government websites on COVID, or potentially remove your post if it believes that there has been some fake news. Now, if they are able to censor women's bodies, highlight unsafe activities, and identify keywords, why on earth can they not identify and remove racism? They allow us to hide keywords from our posts by doing it ourselves on our settings, but that doesn't stop the racists from posting or their racism to remain on the internet. Like if I post 5 nipples on my account over 5 days, within that time, they're likely to delete my whole account and everything with it. Yeah, if I jump on a post, let's say post 5 racist posts over 5 days, unless someone actually reports them, so some human involvement, I'll probably still have my account. Something doesn't seem to work out in my mind. It is a sad state of affairs that social media and the companies behind these social media platforms are able to do so much on so many issues, but on racism, they are weak and, in my opinion, useless. Fighting racism is not a job for the victims. It is a job for us all. And that includes the companies that provide platforms for people to share their views. Racism is a tool of capitalism. And we must remember this. And to defeat racism, there are bigger fights we must also take on. But while in the system that we are in, and by doing the most we can, we should not be allowing the same companies that censor the natural sight of a child being breastfed to pretend they cannot remove racist posts from their platforms. Because that's what they're doing. They're pretending. They know they can do this. Trust me. Now, continuing on the theme of hypocrisy, we are looking at open democracy, where Anita Morethi has been looking at 6 Tory MPs that 1 minute were condemning England players and the next riding the "Come on England" bandwagon. I can't lie. At one point, I was like, "Come on England." I did get excited. Man was a bit hyped. It might have been the rum. It might have been the tequila. I don't know. It might have been the blaze. But I was hyped. Now, this kind of behavior is just disgusting. It's not English. It's not British. It's not patriotic. Damn, it's embarrassing. You know what is patriotic? Fighting for our kids to not go hungry over the summer holidays. Now, from voting against free school meals when the nation got behind campaigners and Marcus Rashford to just yesterday posting their selfies and messages of best wishes. Now, it is right that we all get behind Southgate and his team of Marxist revolutionaries, but it is also right that we recognize the work they've done and not pretend that in these MPs' cases, you aren't against the messages the players stand by. Of course, the smiling assassin, Priti Patel, is featured in the article, who got brought down a good few pegs by Tyrone Mings on Twitter today. Priti said in a tweet that she was disgusted by the racist abuse thrown at the England players. Oh my gosh. And Tyrone rightfully replied, "You don't get to stoke the fire at the beginning of the tournament by labeling our anti-racism message as gesture politics and then pretend to be disgusted when the very thing we're campaigning against happens." Whee, shut your mouth, Priti. Come on. I got to rate Ming for that one. You know, that's a just, if anyone could have shut it down better, my guy done it there. Big up Tyrone. Now, earlier today, it was confirmed that COVID restrictions will be lifted on July 19th. Last week, we looked at some of the figures of cases here in the UK and abroad and what this looks like on a global scale. Now, all I heard from the government today was fuck the poor, honestly. Now, John Ashton at Byline Times has today explained why Boris's plans for the COVID-free market will be suffered the most by the poor and marginalized in our communities. There is no question that the fourth wave is already here and growing by the day, with under half the population fully vaccinated and the number of deaths slowly rising. I am in all hope that something will change for the better. Honestly, hope is all we have right now. For all of the people that don't have the support around them to survive, the after effects of COVID, let alone if you get COVID, as well as the virus itself just in society, is just scary. Time off work, long-term health conditions, access to food, and so many other issues that come up for people that catch the virus, or even someone in their family who's caught it and has an impact on their direct family. Then there's the long COVID stuff. Most workplaces have very strict sickness policies and low amounts of sick pay, and which for anyone suffering long-term is a very, very scary thing to think about. We're in a situation where the government are saying, do as you please. Where just 15 months ago, we were locking up the doors, shutting the windows, and staying pretty far away from each other in most cases. I definitely think someone needs to have a word with the government, and I definitely think we need to do more at minimum to protect the people that maybe haven't been vaccinated, the poorest in our society, and the people with the more serious health conditions. The most important thing we can also do is get this government away from our NHS, because it's crumbling, it's falling. And those pesky business people that just want to make money over in America and elsewhere are standing around like vultures, waiting for the NHS to crash so they can purchase it. Let's not forget, guys, whether you believe COVID is real or something that's made in a laboratory or it's not real, doesn't matter what you believe. This government are using every opportunity to take over our health service and kill the poor. That's all there is to it, and they don't care. So long as their pockets are lined while they're doing it too, they are very, very happy. So let's take what they say with a pinch of salt, and let's just do the best we can to keep each other safe. If you don't want to wear a mask, that's fine. If you don't want to do 2 meters distance, that's fine. But if someone else does, don't get up in their face about it. You have the freedom to do what you want to do just as much as anyone else has the freedom to try and protect themselves and the people around them. Now, we were missing someone last week, and I think you could tell the vibe just wasn't there. We didn't have the vibe. It is obviously the one, the only, the vibiest, Klaudia Fior. Wagwan, my G, where have you been?
I was off work in Portugal. I am double vaxxed and I tested negative before anyone in the comments tries to tell me that I did something bad. I followed all the rules and restrictions. Thank you very much. But yeah, I was just enjoying life, taking a break from it all. But
I kept up to date with the IG, obviously, and I'm glad to see that you misbehaved so appropriately and you showed everyone that you came across how to party. Also, very proud that last night you took on some our racists in Portugal as well.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Do you know what? Racism is actually rife anywhere you go at this point, and that's what I've come to learn. And no matter if it's England, anywhere in Europe and America, it's on the rise. It's not getting any better. It's just, I think it's getting worse, quite frankly. I feel like even though everyone's like, oh, we're living in a very progressive society, we're actually going back on ourselves. That's my personal opinion. But enough about me taking on a racist yesterday. It was in defense of Marcus Rashford, so I'm going to get on to the next story because I'm going to speak about Rashford anyways. So the first story that I've picked leading on from the Euros yesterday is by the Canary. It is why did I switch it off? The abuse of England's football players shows racism is still endemic. Now, the reason I chose this story is because it literally it's a clear sign that racism in Britain is still alive and well. And racism in football is just the tip of the iceberg. This is something that is rampant across all of our institutions in police, schools, healthcare. So football is just, like I said, the tip of the iceberg for it. Now, what I think is really crazy about the racial abuse that has come as a result of England losing yesterday is not only the football players that have been targeted with racial slurs and comments or attacks on social media. It's also just people of color who have gone out to enjoy the game and have literally just stepped out on the street to go and watch a football game, have had to go back home in groups or immediately get into taxis as soon as the game was done, because there was this dire sense of danger that came across them. And there was tons of reports on social media about people getting attacked outside of Wembley or in pubs. And quite frankly, it's just absolutely disgusting. There's no other way to put it. When I saw all of these things surface on social media, it almost made me feel glad to know that I'm an immigrant and that I'm not British at heart, because it's a disgusting way to end a game. It made us seem like not only sore losers, but it really signified how racist Britain really is. And what just a couple of months ago, when the Black Lives Matter protests were happening, white Britain was so adamant to be like, oh, Britain's not racist, the UK is innocent. No, we're not. If it wasn't for British colonizers, white racist America wouldn't exist. We're the root of the problem, and until we choose to accept it, we can't fix it. It's like white Britain chooses to deny it all the time. They're just like, no, we're not racist, and if we just don't pay attention to it, it's going to go away. And yesterday really showed that it's not going to go away, and it's there, and it's going to continue to stick. And I think, for example, Marcus Rashford, yes, he missed the penalty, but the man has spent the last couple of months, if not the last couple of months of lockdown, doing the Prime Minister's job. He has taken on the role of Prime Minister and a footballer. So I think we can all excuse him missing a penalty. Do you know what I mean? And then Bukayo Saka, he is a 19-year-old child who got given the responsibility of shooting the most important penalty of the game. It doesn't make sense. One, it shows how strong his character is to be able to stand there in front of all those people, knowing how much pressure he has on his back, and still try to take the penalty. But it was down to the manager of the team or the team captain to put someone else forward and be like, right, this is it. And it's I'm really angry about this. The whole backlash that people have faced is just disgusting. There's no other way to put it.
Yep. No, I hear you. And I feel like you know, I want to reclaim the St. George's flag because of these guys in the team this year. And also, like, I got to give props. Let's be honest, it always gets sidelined every year, but our English team do so well as well. Like they're doing bits out there, the English women's team. And I just think that we need to think about what patriotism is, and how we look at it, because for so long we've allowed people to say that patriotism in the UK and being proud of our nation is flying an England flag at a Tommy Robinson rally, and talking about getting rid of immigrants. But really, patriotism, like, if you look back at this country and the things that we can be most proud of, is like the times when we've taken people in and looked after them, the times when we've looked after our children, the times when we've made sure that the most vulnerable and unhealthy in our society have got access to healthcare. And like, you know, I remember there was I think his name was Harry, the old guy that got up and spoke at a Labour conference once, and he wrote a book, Harry's Last Stand. And he talked about, as a kid, seeing people in the street, you know, kids dying of all kinds of diseases that they couldn't cure, and it was common. It was.
Have I gone or have you gone? Right, so I think Dan is frozen. So while Dan is frozen, I am also going to add that we're very keen on getting immigrants out of the country, but realistically, immigration is a huge part of British culture, and British culture wouldn't be where it is now if it wasn't for immigrants. And quite frankly, if it wasn't for immigrants, there would only be 3 players left in the England team. So immigration not only drives culture, it drives our economy, it drives so much in Britain. So we need to learn how to appreciate. And quite frankly, immigration is a sign of flattery. To know that people want to come over to this country because they see it as something better than their country is a big sign. Right, we have lost Dan, so I am here gonna do this by myself. So if I mess anything up, please excuse me. But yeah, so bringing it back to this whole story, the racism that not only the Black players from the England team, but also Black people all across England have experienced as a result of us losing is absolutely horrendous. And the thing is, what we need to realize, it's not just because they lost that this is happening. Racism exists. It is deeply rooted into people's minds and into our it's deeply rooted into people's minds as well as our institutions. So until we acknowledge this, there's no fixing it. And what we need to remember is, it's great to not be racist, but we need to be more active, and you need to be anti-racist, because racism is so profound. As much as we like to deny it, it is very, very profound in everyday life as well as institutions. So until we organize a community of people who are anti-racist, we're not going to be able to move forward. So we've just got a question: does Twitter make the situation worse? I think in some aspects it does. Social media does make all cases a bit worse. We've got Dan back. Hi, Dan.
I had a power cut. Literally everything in my house just turned off. So apologies to everyone. I also lost my shit for a moment.
It's fine. I kept talking. We have a question about the whole racial abuse that the players experienced yesterday, just about the backlash that happened after yesterday. So do you think that Twitter makes the situation worse? I think all social media, I think it's a bit of a 50-50, because social media makes things better in the sense that I saw loads of my friends being able to pass down helpline numbers for people who experience domestic violence as a result of us losing, or numbers for safe spaces for any people of color if they needed somewhere to go quickly and fast, or numbers for taxis who are helping people get home. So it's good for things like that, because you get to share information in real time, and you can ensure that the people around you are safe and they know what's happening. But at the same time, it can be very triggering for a lot of people. Like, I know, for example, a lot of the images that get shared around of people getting attacked, or videos of people getting attacked, if you are a person of color, if you see that, that's going to be very detrimental to you, and it's going to make you feel unsafe. So but then also the other bad part with the fact that information can be shared so quickly on social media, as much as us, people like us who are allies to people of color or the Black community, we can spread information and pass on the information they need. These people who are racists and can do the exact same. They can pass on the information that they wanted amongst their community just as quickly as we can. So it's a bit of a 50-50. It's just really about how you interact with social media. But I think Dan, you made the really good point about the fact that social media does a terrible job at censoring when it comes to racism. Like I even, as you said, I was partying in Portugal. I took a shot and I said that I was taking a shot in the video, and Instagram automatically added an information bar thinking that I was talking about a COVID shot. But yeah, I've seen people literally tweet the N-word with a hard ER at the end time and time again, saying kill these and it's getting retweeted. No one's doing anything. It's got like 50,000 retweets, and Twitter's just there like, yep, we're not even going to censor this tweet. We're not even going to say that this has abusive language in it. So it's a hard question because
I think it's down to those companies. It's not the users. It's not it's not the people who are posting. Like, yeah, if someone posts something racist, then they're a wrong person. But it is down to the people who create these platforms. So last week we shared the video, I think it was on Monday, of the sea on fire. And on Facebook, that video got removed because some media company somewhere in America, I think it was, has copyrighted that video. Like, fair enough, they sent a helicopter out there to film it or whatever, but it is all over Twitter. And they've copyrighted it, and Facebook, as soon as you upload it to Facebook, even if it's in the middle of a 30-minute stream, it's removed. And that's within seconds they can do that. If I upload a video and on YouTube and I even sing part of a certain song, just even hum it, it will pick it up and it will remove that video and give me a warning for it as well. It might even give me a mark on my account to say, if you violate again, then there's a chance your account will be removed. And if they're able to do that,
see, but that's all where it all comes down to money. Like you said, racism is capitalism. Copyright, they're not doing it because if they allow copyright content, they're going to lose money, but they're not losing any money by, do you know what I mean? It's
exactly,
all comes down to the same thing. But let's just move on from this because I'm tired about talking about it, and I don't want to get any more airtime out of the racists. Oh, actually, back to this story. I saw a quote that I think was just really good, a really good summary on how white Britain views the black players in the England team, which was British when they win, immigrants when they lose, which I think is just a very good summary for. So I'm going to leave it on that. Now, the next story I've got is by our good old friends Open Democracy, which is 20% of Tory donations come from property tycoons. Now, I think this is just a very interesting story because we have a housing crisis, but yet we're getting so much money from property tycoons. So like one in three people in Britain don't have a safe space to live, whereas all the rest of the housing is just not affordable for majority of Britain. So to now find out that so they gave a total in the last, so for between 2010 and 2020, these property tycoons gave the Conservative Party a total of £60 million, which is 20% of all the donations that they've received in the period of 10 years. And it kind of really just puts things into perspective. Do you know what I mean? Gentrification and homelessness is on the rise, but that's all right because London has 15,000 new builds that no one can afford. Like, even like the whole thing with Grenfell so Grenfell was developed by Ballymore, the company Ballymore. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or not. Ballymore recently developed a sky swimming pool for people living in 9 Elms, living in the high rises in the new builds. Now, please make it make sense how a company who is able to construct a pool that goes between 2 blocks in the sky to hold people and tons of water without breaking, and it's safe, is the same company that built a building that literally set on, killed hundreds, so many people because it set on fire. It's just a really clear symbol about how this country cares about the rich but not the poor.
I love that point. Like everything, we were talking just then about racism on social media, and it's down to money. They're here, they care about the rich and not the poor. It's money. Capitalism rules. But remember a little while ago, I think it was DIY SOS. I don't know, one of them shows. They managed to get some guys out to rebuild or refit a whole street of houses in a week or two. And it was this massive program. I think Prince Harry or Prince William turned up and helped out a little bit, or they stood with a hammer in a picture. And it was a vibe, you know what I mean? Like, it was so beautiful to see. And I think people forget we hold that power. You know, when we're thinking about this kind of housing, these housing issues, the reason these guys are able to get away with what they do is because of the money they're able to put into the Conservative Party. And, you know, the picture there on the thing, it shows, this goes back to Cameron and Osborne. Osborne was the one, and I've ranted about this a few times, the National Planning Policy Framework. Osborne was the one behind that, which now means that local planning committees don't really have any power over local planning decisions. And if they do decide to use their power, there's a good chance that the applicants can then go to the government, have the decision overturned, and the government can take money off of the planning department in that council. And the land that's available to use is so much easier for any developers to jump on green space, even if it's green belt land, than it is for them to use what's like brownfield sites, which is basically land that's already been built on and isn't like a park or something. And the fact that they're able to do all of this and build them so that there's all these relaxed wording, like, you know, it has to be, I think, 14% or 12% affordable homes. What's affordable? Affordable to who? You know what I mean? And the fact that they're able to do all of these things, but then we can see that when you get people together with a common interest, which is to house people who deserve housing, and I think the people who need housing at the most at the moment, or there's a large amount of people, is our veterans. You know, start getting people behind something that brings them together, because let's be honest, whether you agree with war or not, those men and women, they went out and risked their lives for us. So I've got all the time in the world for those people. And if it means me having to take a day out of work to go and get a bit grubby so that I can help, you know, install something in a house, to build something in a house, and we all got behind it and we started to build community-owned housing, because the councils aren't able to do it now with the council housing, where they are managing to, the government are putting blocks in the way. So I think people need to start buying land. The answer to this, in my opinion, my long-winded answer to this is that people need to start buying land, and we need to start building on it. As communities, we need to buy the land and together build on it and build houses that we own. And we stick, you know, just like in the last story I covered, where I said Boris is basically saying, fuck the poor, fuck the government.
Throw it right back at them, literally. But yeah, no, you're right. We do need to start like buying land. It wasn't until I moved out on my own that I realized when I'm paying rent, I'm just paying off someone else's mortgage like an idiot. Like an idiot. I am sitting there, they're sitting living life, and I'm paying off their mortgage, stressing because thinking that I'm never going to be able to buy a house because I'm here paying someone else's mortgage. But do you know what? I think the way we've been programmed or like just nurtured by society, a lot of people aren't aware of that. You're not aware that you're actually paying off someone else's mortgage. You're just like, right, they bought that outright, they paid cash, got it, now I'm just paying them. Do you know what I mean? And when you do realize that, it's a big wake up call, and you're just like, what am I doing? Why am I putting money in this person's pocket? But you're right. The answer is we just need to buy land and say fuck the government, quite frankly.
I like to look back on 90s hip hop clothing. For us, by us. Just FUBU it all, people. FUBU it all. For us, by us. Go out there, buy the land. You know, the businesses, buy the businesses. Make the people own the businesses. Worker-owned businesses, community-owned homes, and community-run pubs. That's the answer. That's the future. No racism, all love. We're setting up our own brand here. What's the next, before I start setting up my own company here, Klaudia, what's the next story?
The next story is our good friends at New Internationalists, and the story is titled Beaten Back. So this story basically speaks about a chain pushback on immigrants, which a chain pushback is basically when refugees are transported from one country to another until they make it back to the country where they originated from. The problem with this is often when they are pushed back from one country to another, the situations in that country get significantly worse as they go down from country to country, as there's more corruption, just everything just gets worse. Now, the reason that I think this story is quite interesting is because the Border Violence Monitoring Network has actually said that they've done some research into this, and they're obviously this shouldn't be a surprise to me, but I just think it's more of a reinforcing statement. It's the fact that they strongly believe that a lot of these pushbacks are premeditated and they're systematic. Like, this is something that these governments have decided that they're going to do together, and quite often these immigrants are transported during the night by police from border to border, and the reason they do this at nighttime is that so that they can get away with torture, beating them without anyone actually noticing, or without people noticing that they're transporting asylum seekers, as these pushbacks are actually a direct violation of the EU Charter of Fundamental Human Rights. So obviously what they're doing is illegal, so they're going to do it as secretly as possible. But I can't wrap my head around why you know that someone is escaping. So what this story actually speaks to an asylum seeker who escaped Iraq, I believe. And he said that despite he has done this journey 10 times now, in both 10 times he has never made it to Italy, and each 10 times he has been pushed back country to country, tortured every single time, but yet he continues to try and make the same journey, because in his head, regardless of how bad it is and regardless of how bad Bosnia is, it's still better than Iraq. And to me, that is so astounding. Like, they're willing to put themselves through so much pain. And yet we think that the appropriate response is to project more pain and suffering onto them. I just can't wrap my head around why this kind of abuse of, like, I know it's just abuse of power, but I just think it's absolutely heartbreaking. It's horrible. I don't understand why you would want to put someone through that. It's just a complete disregard for human life and nothing else. Like,
yeah, I see the way I see this whole situation as well is that I feel like, you know, people like Pretty are working together with some of these countries that are doing this. I feel like that her new bill that she was introducing last week supports this kind of behavior, this kind of work. But it passes the buck because England, you know, we can't get caught up in more controversy of being open to beating people up. Whereas England are quite happy to leave countries like maybe Bosnia or elsewhere to commit these Slovakia to commit these crimes, and I think that's literally what this new bill is doing. What Pretty's putting through is so that she can pass it on to other countries, let them do it, and then if people end up here, which is I see no problem with it. Like I said before with the football, I think it's patriotic to look after people that are vulnerable. I think it's patriotic to care about people. Like, damn it, our patron saint, he, even though he's not real, is Syrian, right? Born in Palestine. Like, how can we?
No, even when you lost power, I said, I was like, the sole idea of immigration should be as a form of flattery. England should see the fact that immigrants want to come over here, or all these other countries should see the fact that immigrants want to come over to your country because they see a future there. They see something, they see growth, they see potential. Yeah. But instead, we attack them and make them never, like, make it seem like we're the worst place in the world. And it just doesn't make sense to me. And quite frankly, England is built off immigrants. Half of British culture is immigrant culture. There's, like, quite frankly, if you ask me what is like a typical, if you were to ask a lot of people what a typical British dish was, I guarantee they'll list something that isn't even British. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I don't even think fish and chips is originally British, you know. It was trending on.
It's not.
It was trending on Twitter a while ago, and everyone was like, "It's not even English." I'm like, "Wow, what do like?" Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. You know, like you go out for a meal, you don't naturally say to your friends, "Oh, should we get some pie and mash?" Like, I don't even know if that pastry on the old pie is a British delicacy. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Listen, all I know that British is eels and mashed potato. British people love potato.
Oh man. Yeah. Sorry, there's too many jokes coming to mind, and I'm wondering whether they're okay for the platforms we're on. But real talk, like
even someone in the comments said that a traditional British dish is korma. This is what I'm saying. Someone said korma. You people are like, yeah, Chinese shop. Like it literally has the word Chinese in it, and you think it's British food. It
reminds me as well of. Do you remember that guy Paul Golding? I think he's in jail now from Britain First. And there's a video I shared it years ago. He's standing there in front of a group of blokes with these flags, right? And he's like, "Oh, I can't go nowhere without everything being allowed. I can't even get myself a vindaloo without it being allowed. And I'm like, what?
Well, of course you can't. It's not your dish. It doesn't belong to your country. But
go home, Paul.
But like taking it a little bit back to the story, another thing that I thought was quite interesting that they pointed out is that even in cases where these asylum seekers get justice and they are recognized for the fact that they've been illegally pushed back or illegally transported or denied asylum, it takes absolute months to get it all reversed and get them to a safe space. And while they wait for trial, quite often they're kept in immigration camps, which quite frankly are basically prisons, if not worse. One of the guys in the story described having been kept in a prison cell, a singular prison cell. Now, for those of you who don't know what an inside of a prison cell looks like, it's not very big. And he said he was kept in there with 5 other people, and they were there for months. And he was waiting to be like taken to a safe space because he got asylum. So even in cases where they're getting justice, they're not really. And another thing that they pointed out is that they said that in Bosnia, if there was no NGOs, that majority of the immigrants that travel through Bosnia would all be dead. Whether that be at the hands of the authorities or at the fact that they simply can't handle the conditions that they're staying in, or because they try and escape the conditions that they're in and then get met with weather conditions that they're just not used to. Majority of them would be dead. And it's only thanks to the NGOs, who are obviously already being stretched out to their capacity, that this isn't the case. And I just I feel like we're all on this planet. It's a planet. We're all here. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you look like, what the color of your skin is. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're just here. We just want to live. I don't get it.
Some of these people, they ain't even looking to live glamorously or nothing. They literally just want to live. And before I got distracted with taking the mick out of racists before, my point I was trying to get to about this kind of stuff is while these laws are going through our parliament about how we use international law to deal with people trying to just live, at the same time, why on earth are we not doing something about these atrocities that are happening? The fact that people are being, that's illegal. The fact that they're just getting beaten up and put in cells. Where's the international law to protect the people? There seems like there's all these international laws to protect countries from illegal immigrants, but where are the laws to protect the people from illegal politicians and illegal law enforcers? It's a sorry state of affairs that we're in right now. And it's so scary to think that, there are children getting caught up in these situations as well. So that when they come over to Britain and they're getting treated with the hostile environment that we have here, to be fair, it's not a lot compared to what they might have seen in other countries. But at the end of the day, they deserve so much more and so much better. And I think we, going back on the point, we need to change our view on patriotism and start thinking about how we treat others beyond how we try to feather our own beds and nests.
Yeah, but the whole thing with this is, even, do you know what? Even if you hate immigrants and you don't want immigrants in your country, as someone who has some power, you don't want immigrants coming into this country. Go to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is in their country, but instead of us helping them, we're providing them with arms, we're providing them with money, we're supporting the wrong side. Don't then complain that we've got immigrants. You are displacing the UK and the US and all these other European nations. They are helping to displace these people, and then they're like, nope, don't come here. Where the fuck are they going to go? Pardon my language. Where are they going to go?
I'm going to throw shots here, yeah, but I like to throw shots and I like to get myself into situations. But, the root of the problem, a lot of the problem right now is the last Labour government. They were massively involved in a lot of the unsettling of the Middle East. And one of the people behind that is currently presenting Good Morning Britain, or whatever it's called, with the one that Piers used to do. I don't even watch it. And the Alistair Campbell guy, he was a big part of that Labour government. He was the one, peddling for war, peddling for bombs to be dropped on peaceful places in the Middle East, all for those weapons of mass destruction. I don't think we ever found them, did we? Did we find? What are them weapons? Do you remember that every day in the paper, weapons of mass destruction?
Where?
They
Please.
used that line so much that it ended up being WMD. Like you know, they had their own little anagram for it and all that. And it's like, but we never found those weapons of mass destruction. They found Osama, but he wasn't even in the Middle. He was in Pakistan. So all this searching for Osama in the Middle East, searching for weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East. The fact that they managed to get, well, it wasn't even the British Army that got Gaddafi. It was the local local people, you know, the soldiers from the country who got Gaddafi. And you know, so if you want to look back to it, we're actually watching the reasons for that these people are facing problems. The reason that people are having to come here and find refuge. The actual reason, one of them sitting on GMB, another one gets invited on the news to talk about how great they think they were as the Labour leader. Some of them are still in government, still, you know, in Parliament right now. All the people in our government that voted for war and the people that were behind our governments that created that helped drain the money out of us to create the taxes, to build the bombs, to drop on peaceful places, schools, hospitals, communities, we're basically funding them. That's where it is. And I think we need to take a serious look at that, really.
See, but that's the thing again. War is business. War is business, and war is money, and everything. Yet again, comes back down to money.
Money is a bad thing, man. Honestly,
and it's not what. It's, do you know what? It's not money. It's not money, because money is nothing more than a piece of paper with some ink on it. It is the value and what we associate money with.
Yeah.
That's what it's this stupid. We've given a piece of paper so much power over our lives. No, thank you. I would rather live on a abandoned little island. But do you know what? At this point, I don't think you can even live on a remote island. I feel like people have just gone everywhere. They're just like, even
Richard Branson will own it.
Listen. Oh no, we're not getting off this before we mention the fact that they've taken people to space. They took people. You're telling me people are going to space when we've got like 101 disasters going on the earth? Why are we bothering space? Why are we? Do you know what this is? They know that it's all just going downhill. They're just trying to get out of here before.
It's amazing where we've got billionaires, you know, racing to get to space after governments have already done it. You know what I mean? Racing to get to space so that they can make money out of taking people to space for holidays. But meanwhile, there is actually, not literally, actually, children still starving in the richest countries in the world.
It costs $2 million for a ticket. The trip takes about 15 minutes. What?
I know. What? It's crazy, right? It's great. Who's got 2 million?
Sometimes I feel like these people just don't live in the same world as us. Like, they've just got blinders on there. They're just like, yep, tunnel vision. That's me. F everything else. Because I don't understand how else you could be so oblivious to what's going on around you. Or just maybe not oblivious. They know exactly what's going on. They just don't care. It don't feed their pockets.
Yep, definitely. Listen, Klaudia, I don't even know if you can see me now. I'm having such a terrible day with technology. I need some of those millions. Oh my days! I'm gonna start selling some tickets to go to space. And then just tell them that my rocket blew up.
People to go see there.
But listen, Klaudia, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Obviously, you're going to be back next Monday. This week we've got some cool stuff coming up. We've the Media Reform Coalition. I've got an event this Wednesday at 6 p.m. I'll be posting the links to them. We've already posted them on Twitter, but we'll make sure we post them. We've got Ant O'Hanlon from University of Liverpool, UCU, the union representing the workers there, that have now got an international boycott of Liverpool Uni going on. He's coming on the show, I think, on Wednesday. We should be having our guy Tom Williams coming on to do a little bit of what he calls communists and football, which will be very, very interesting. We've got some exciting stuff lined up for the show this week, and we'll continue that through to next week. Klaudia, you've been the baddest, the realest, the illest, so I'm going to let you see the people out of the show. Tell them what's good.
All right, so you know the deal. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Bywire News, and then Instagram is at Bywire_news. Make sure you join Dan tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, 9 p.m. to get the best from independent media and just the best of everything. See you next. See me next week. See him tomorrow. Peace out.
Get the news you know you can trust.